It's long. It has a lot of, all these broken have a lot of explanation on the bottom.
Yeah. Okay, so Hey, I'll move on to the mitzvah of Kidush Hashem, right? The Rambam said Torah has multiple mitzvahs at the very beginning, and we learned that there's mitzvah number 6 is to sanctify Hashem's name, and number 7 is not to disgrace Hashem's name. Okay, Perek Hey. Call basis the entire house of Israel. Interesting lashon. The Mefarshim say the Rambam includes even women and children, and to a certain extent, even children who are not mechuyev chinuch have a shaychus to this. But tzuvin al kiddush Hashem God lazer are obligated to sanctify Hashem's great and holy name. Meaning now we learn Hashem is one. Hashem exists. Hashem is one to love Him and fear Him, and we have an obligation as different mitzvahs to make Hashem's name renowned in the whole world. Part of that is the obligation to sanctify Hashem's name in the ultimate sense, should it become necessary. Okay. It says, I should be sanctified among the Jewish people. The word taich is crucial, as we'll see. It was hard also, that's a positive mitzvah. Now we're warned also not to do a negative mitzvah of violating Hashem's name, but disgracing Hashem's name. Shenemar says, do not violate my holy name. Keita, for example, what exactly does that mean? So as kids, they say, don't scream in the amusement park, don't scream in the shopping center, Tzachil Hashem. So that's true to an extent, we'll see that in the parak, but has a more concrete meaning. Case of example, first Rambam starts off with telling us when we're allowed to not give up our lives, because the Rambam does not want to make it sound like he's being flippant with the safety of the Jewish people. So when a goy arises in authority and he forces the Jewish people to transgress any mitzvah, except for the famous 3 mitzvahs of murder, sexual immorality, and avodah zarah and idolatry. So any of the other mitzvahs, or even all the other mitzvahs except those 3, which are mentioned in the Torah, again, he tells you, if you don't violate this mitzvah, if you don't eat this chametz right now, even though it's in the middle of Pesach, he's going to kill him. Yaver, he should transgress the mitzvah, eat the chametz on Pesach or eat Yom Kippur or whatever the mitzvah is, and not allow himself to be killed. Right? Wear the jacket with shatnez. It says mitzvahs regarding the mitzvahs. A person do the mitzvahs and live in those mitzvahs. Live among them, but not to die among them. Therefore, we learn that generally speaking, the rule of thumb is not to let himself be killed. That's what we learn from the pasuk v'chai if a person chooses to let himself be killed, he's violating his soul, meaning he's responsible for his own life. It's almost like he committed suicide in the sense that he has an obligation to let himself to protect himself and to not transgress the mitzvah. And regarding Shabbos, there's a whole thing that when it comes to eating chametz on Pesach, or not, let's say not eating matzah on Pesach, the guy says, if you eat the matzah, I'm going to kill you. So he doesn't eat the matzah. So it's not pshat you're mekayim the mitzvah eating matzah. You weren't mekayim the mitzvah, but out of necessity. When it comes to violating the Shabbos, that's part of actually not pshat you didn't keep Shabbos out of necessity. That's part of the mitzvah of Shabbos, is to violate Shabbos to save a life. It's a whole different ballgame. Okay. But this is true that a person should let themselves give up their life. Let themselves transgress and not give up their life. These are all the mitzvahs except for idolatry, or forbidden relations, or murder. However, regarding these three avedas, if the guy tells him, men transgress them, right? Kill this guy, or I'm going to kill you. Or he tells him, worship this avodah zarah, or be involved in this forbidden relationship. Or you get killed. Yesodei, you should let himself be killed by Yahweh, should not transgress. Regarding this, we don't say the pasuk Chai B'hem, we say another pasuk we'll see in a second. So that's these 3 unique mitzvahs. That this is true, and even if the guy is simply doing it for his own benefit, this guy, listen, he's after me, he has information on me that he's going to use to convict me. I can go to jail for 100 years. So you have to kill this person, or if you're not, I'm going to kill you. You're not going to kill the person. When it is true that the other mitzvahs a person should transgress in order to save himself, not let himself be killed. Sorry? So when is this true? Is man shagoy miskabel? We're talking about the truth. If we make a Jew forcing the person to transgress, I don't know if it make a difference. It's a good question. The Rambam says a goy because it's more common. It could be talking about Yid is different. I'm not sure. It's a good question. So a meiser is different. I mean, if in other words, if a married woman is being forced in a forbidden relationship with a goy or a Yid, I don't think it makes a difference. She's going to give life either ways. Or if a person is being forced by a Yid to worship avodah zarah, let's say a Yid who just wants to, I don't think it makes a difference. If I had to guess, okay. Another issue is man miskavin when the guy or the bully, we'll call it, yeah, miskavin he's doing this for his own benefit. So by eating chametz on matzah on Pesach example is not so good because let's say he wants him to listen. I need this house built. I need to get driven somewhere. I have an emergency flight. Drive me to the airport, I'll shoot you. And Shabbos, right? So he's had to do it for his own hana. Or cook me an egg on Shabbos, or I'll shoot you. Or he's trying to force a woman to have relations with her. A woman talking about a married woman who it's an issur of. An unmarried woman. So it's not is a gil mamash gil erayis. Okay, it's these examples. So these examples, and the guy simply says, "For my benefit, I want you to do this avera." And the mitzvah is that a person let himself. He should transgress the avera, not let himself be killed, as long as it's not one of the big three, because the guy is simply doing it for his own hana. This is irrelevant whether it's in public or private. However, if the guy is simply doing it for spite, just to make him transgress, just for spite. So then, if it was in private, the guy for spite wants to make him eat chametz on Pesach. There's no 10 Yidden present there at the time. Some say Pshat Rambam, and no 10 Yidden are aware of it, even in the future, or even in the near future. Again, let him transgress, don't let himself be killed, because it's not a situation of the chiv of Kidush Hashem. However, if this guy who's doing it just for spite, and it's in public, among 10 other Yidden, and you want to get technical, we could say dafka 10 Yidden who are males above bar mitzvah, okay? In that case, he has an obligation, just like if it was the three big mitzvahs, to let himself give up his life and not transgress the avera. Correct. Any mitzvah. Yeah. Even if it's right. Correct. Yeah. Even if it is good. So fine. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. 1 second. Is not one of the three main mitzvahs, right? It's not one of the murder. Forbidden relationships are idolatry. Nevertheless, so since it's in public and it's just for spite, the person has a chiyuv to mekadosh Hashem's name and not transgress, not given to this spiteful guy. Now, the Mefarshim say this could be applied even to mitzvah d'Rabbanan, and the Mefarshim discuss what about a minhag. Is there a chiyuv to give it by when it comes to a minhag Yisrael? Okay, this is all discussed. Yeah, good. So the Pasha Ram holds the answer is no, but I'm just pointing out that it's discussed. Good, fine. Fine. So adkan. So if it's for spite in public, any mitzvah, or if it's the guy for his own hana, he wants you to kill someone else because it benefits him because that guy has information on him, for example. Not for spite, not in public. Still, the chiyuv is to give up your life. Those are the two examples. Either the big three, gilei raya, shilchus damim, or avodah zarah, or any mitzvah if it's in public and the guy is doing it just for spite. That's what is the chiyuv of Kiddush Hashem, sanctify Hashem's name. And all these things. We're talking about a time where it's not a time where there's a gezerah of the government against religion, against Yiddishkeit. A time when there's a gezerah, which means a Russia king, a Russian monarch arises like Nebuchadnezzar and his kind, his cronies. He makes a gezerah against Yidden to the Yiddishkeit specifically. Or even if it's one of the mitzvahs staff against one mitzvah, he doesn't say no matzah on Pesach, right? As a gezerah. In that case, because the shas hashmad, any scenario is like it's for spite, and it's like it's in public. Yadig val yaver, a person should let himself be killed, not transgress. Even if it's one of the mitzvahs, and whether it's among 10 other yidden, or whether it's just in private, no one else is there, just them two. Or even if it's in public, but there's only goyim there, no, you know about it. So nevertheless, that's another example with the chiyuv of Kiddush Hashem. So that's the din. That's the situation. Now, this that we said that when it comes to other mitzvahs, if it's not a shas hashmad, and the guy is doing it just for his own hana, not for spite, even if it's in public. Or if it is for spite, but it's not in public, where we said the person should give up his life. Excuse me, he should not give up his life. He should transgress. The Mefarshim discuss if a person chooses to give up his life, he wants to give up his life. So there's legitimacy. So actually, that's halacha dal. Now I jumped the gun. Sorry, I jumped the gun. The question. Okay, another issue is Shas Hashmad is a gezerah against the Yidden performing Yiddishkeit. What if the government says no religion allowed? Any religion, is that also a Shas Hashmad? The Jews are not being targeted specifically. So the Pasuk describe that, but the Rambam says only when it's against Yidden dafka. If it's against religion b'chlal, like in the Soviet Union, lav dafka is called a Shas Hashmad. Okay. And this is all by Elisa say. When it comes to mitzvah say, right? Don't eat the matzah. I kept saying so. Yeah, that's another story, right? If the gzeira is not to eat them, if a person eats the matzah, the government says we're going to kill you. So then, even though it's a shas hashmad, it's in public, then there's no chiyuv to go eat the matzah. The Elisa say you can't transgress, but to refrain to shav al taz not eat the matzah, then there's no chiyuv. You're allowed to not eat the matzah, even if it's a shas hashmad, even if it's to eat the chametz. You're not allowed to. If they say if you eat chametz, you have to eat chametz, you can't eat matzah. Right? So it's a shas hashmad, you now eat the chametz. You have to give up your life. But to go eat the matzah, even though the guy is standing with a gun, that you're not mechuyev. Halacha dal. Kol misham alei, person in the situation we said, shiyav v'yareg, a person should transgress and not let himself be killed. And v'nedeg v'lo avar, he goes and he's very firm and he lets himself be killed instead of transgressing. Hayz mischayev nafsh. The Rambam says this person is responsible for his hashama. He's like al derech, he gave up his life, which is like on purpose, which is suicide. So because there's no chiyuv of Kidush Hashem. But whoever says Yarg v'yaver, he should give his life up and not transgress. He gives up his life as he's supposed to. It's a Kidush Hashem. He's Mekadosh Hashem's name. Now again, the pasuk say that a person wants to be machmir, he's allowed to give up his life, and the Rambam himself agrees to that. He's just saying the person is not doing it out of ignorance or out of stubbornness. But the Rambam would also agree if he's doing it for a reason. He's a person, for example, that if the other Yidden see he gave up his life like Kidush Hashem for any mitzvah, any avera, not to be any avera, they'll be inspired to be more strong in Yiddishkeit. He's allowed to do that. And in the Geras Hashmad, which the Rambam wrote at the time where Yidden were being pursued by the Almohads, the fanatical Muslims, and there was against Yiddishkeit, and there were Yidden who were giving up their life. The Rambam wrote different halachas about this, and he writes, like the Kesef Mishnah writes, that if a person chooses to give up his life like Kiddush Hashem, when he's not mechuyev to, he's allowed to. Unlike he says over here. Right. And the Pasha is not a stitter because it depends on why a person is doing it. Okay, good. This is what Chassidim also in Russia and all these scenarios where people were meis nefesh, even not mechuyev. The Alter Rebbe in jail, Alter Rebbe refused to eat non kosher food, even though he would die if they wouldn't give him kosher food. Sorry. If this scenario when he gave up his life in a situation where he's supposed to, he's a kid because it's one of the big three, or as a Sasha Shemat, or was a guy who was just doing it for spite among 10 of the Yidden. So then he's a Kiddush Hashem berabim. In that case, not only is he Mekadosh Hashem, he Mekayim mitzvah Kiddush Hashem, but he's Mekayim mitzvah Kiddush Hashem berabim, which is a special thing. Like Daniel, who over there was a gezer against davening. He davened anyways, even though when is davening a mitzvah Torah. You could say that. So the truth is, davening is 3 times a day is in the Rabbanon, but davening at least once a day, some kind of tefillah could be Torah. Good, that's one answer. Or you could say Daniel was what Semach on the Rambam said earlier, as an Adam Gadol, as a person who's important, if he would give it to the king's gezerah, the Arabic gezerah, by not praying at all, so it would also impact all the negative side. Like Daniel chose to be Moshe Nefesh. Else what the Rambam says that a person is allowed to be Moshe Nefesh. Okay, so in any way, the fact is that the fact that he was willing to do that, he did daven, even though it was a time where he was liable to be thrown to the lions. Then he's Mekadosh Hashem's name publicly. Right? They didn't bow to Nebuchadnezzar's Getchke. Rabbi Akiva and his fellows. Rabbi Akiva gave his life to Hashem when there was a Gzeira, Shas Hashmad against the Torah. The Chaveirav, which probably references the Asara Hirugim Malchus, right? The other non-Chacham who were given life to Hashem. There's machlekes about who they are. There's a few of them who everyone agrees are that those 10. There's a question who is the other few are. Okay. The Eilu Heim Harugim Malchus She'en L'Malach Melasam. These are those who are killed by the non-Jewish government. There's no one greater than them. And the Geras Hashmad Rambam says that even if a person was such a balavera, like Yeravim ben Nevat, who was a Avodah Zarah, he made all Yidden do Avodah Zarah, right? The Melech of Yisrael after Shem HaMelech, the first king of Malchus Yisrael. Even such a person, if he gives up his life like Kiddush Hashem, says that Rambam in Geras Hashmad, he's a Ben El Haba, and nobody else could even come close to his in the Chitzasa, his Chilek El Haba, right? You have this, it might in the Holocaust, people, the famous Kapo Schneeweiss, who was a anti-religious, self-hating Jew, and he helped the Yidden fast Yom Kippur because they gave him a bribe, and then the Nazis tried to force him to eat, and he refused to force them to eat, and the Nazis shot him. Right? So you have to. Okay. Regarding this, the pasuk says, "For you we are killed all day. We are considered like sheep to the slaughter." This the pasuk says, "Gather to me my chassidim, right? Those who are pious." Those who are keep my covenant, like I'm keeping his friends. Those who are slaughtered on my behalf, like those who are killed for Hashem's sake. Pasuk references the different levels of Kiddush Hashem of them for Hashem's sake. Okay, fine. A person who says regarding him, he should let himself be killed, not transgress, like Avodah Zarah, for example. And he instead transgresses, and he can't bystand the temptation, the sonya. He doesn't give up his life. So he has desecrated Hashem's name. If it's among 10 people, he's desecrated Hashem's name publicly. He's violated the positive mitzvah of Kidush Hashem. Mitzvah number 6 of the mitzvahs of Yesodei Hatorah. He was not makayim that mitzvah. The of our mitzvah is Hashem, and also he violated the negative mitzvah of not desecrating Hashem's name. Yeah, before Hashem say a diuk that if it's not in public, even though you're transgressing Hashem's name by doing aveda, but you're not even the mitzvah say of Kidush Hashem. Okay, anyway, the Abba became nonetheless. Nevertheless, even though the halacha says don't worship Avodah Zarah, right? Don't kill this other Jewish person just because this mafioso told you he's going to kill you if you don't, and you can't withstand temptation, and you do kill that other yid. Abba became nevertheless since you transgress out of duress, out of oinus. Ein malkan say don't give him malchus. Vein tzach leim Hashem misnei say bezdin. Needless to say, you don't give him the punishment in bezdin, whatever. Misa, if it's a case of, let's say, example of ritzicha or avodah zarah. Afilu harag ba'inus, even if he kills someone ba'inus, not only avodah zarah and gilei arayos, but even ritzicha, which is the most severe of all of it, in a certain sense. And this Alpi Svaram tells us that madach meila avodah zarah. You're going to say, listen, why should I die? I'll worship avodah zarah and I'll live and I'll do more of its mitzvahs later. When it comes to murder, why is your blood better than his blood? So it's a more severe thing logically. Also, the Rambam tells us in Hilchos Tzich, if you remember, that all the other types of chiyuv misa, if a person can't kill the person, he escapes. So then it's not your job to kill the person who Bezdin paskin is chayv miskish mechal Shabbos. There's only one that everybody has an obligation to put him to death if Bezdin can't. That's a murderer. So you see, it's a very severe aveda. And Alpha became if he's over on this aveda because someone forced him to, and he couldn't withstand temptation, he did not give up his life. That you don't punish him. You don't give him malchus if it's a aveda of malchus. You don't give him misa execution. That's done only if a person transgresses willingly. The aiding with witnesses. Uvasarani is warned. Yeah. Now, choose over here could be the people saying, no, don't bow to the getchka. If you bow to the getchka, you're transgressing the Issa of the Zara, and you're violating the Issa of Chil Hashem, Shechayev Misa and Malchus, and he does it anyways. Still, he's not going to get the punishment because it's not Bertzoina. Ram just adds Veidim Asura as a clarification. Shem Rabin is nice. How do we know that? It says regarding the pasuk, a person gives his seed over to the Melech Avodah Zarah, where he would give his son to the priest. The priest gives it back to him, and then he has his son walk through the bonfire. According to the Ram, that's how it's done. But the satin is pani b'shahu. I'm going to place my face against that person. I'm going to cut him off. By tradition, that person is not a person who's forced. So a person who's forced, even though he's mechuyev to withstand the temptation of being forced. If he doesn't, he's not if he's a shegeg, okay? Or if he's tricked. So not if he's an einus, even though if he didn't, he's mechuyev to withstand temptation. Not if he makes a mistake, or someone else tricks him, right? Someone else he feeds him treif and he doesn't know about it. Those are examples where he's not punished. So we see that he's not punished. Good. He says here in Piyash Malamdu, Ram is saying that the Piyash Malamdu of Pshat the Pasuk, it means that the Pasuk by itself does not really logically interpret it that way. You wouldn't know on your own. We know by tradition this is how you're supposed to say Pshat the Pasuk. Sometimes you on your own logic based on the principles of Torah, it makes sense to say Pshat as There's a svara to say it this way. Here on your own, how do we know who means him and not the It's not Mut, not Shegi? That's Lacham Meshim Sina. Okay, fine, good. All right, fine. If avodah zarah, which is in a certain sense even more than murder, the most severe of all avedas, if a person serves the melech, as we just said, he's not chayiv kares. If he's not chayiv kares, he's not chayiv execution in bezdin. So then need to say for all the mitzvahs, and then the person transgresses them under duress, even though it's a situation where you're supposed to accept the duress, give up his life. He doesn't, and he's been over the Isser of Chil Hashem. Nevertheless, the din is that he's not punished. That's regarding over the Zorah. Now the Rambam says something interesting about Arayis. Regarding Arayis, it says the narrative of the maiden who is betrothed, who she mukudeshes. So it says if someone forces her, she's not punished. Why is Ram being this pasuk? Because we have other limudim from Avodah Zarah that you don't punish somebody. Right? Then we discuss this. Fine. By you, that's in the halacha, or there's more to the halacha? Halacha dalit. Is there more, or is it over? Like the Naira Sasadov is the end of halacha dalit?
Yeah.
Yeah, because some Yesodei it says that according to some prince in the Rambam, it adds over here. If this person is in this place with this Exergesidishkeit, he has the ability to escape somewhere else, but he chooses not to because why? He has a good business over here. I'm set up over here. I have lots of real estate, like even in Spain, right? He's like a dog who goes back to his own droppings. He's like a person who's intentionally. And he's cast away from the world to come. He goes to the lowest level of Gehenna because he could escape. He chooses not to. He's being forced every second, but who asked you to stay here? Yesodei calls it Korv Lamezid. Okay, that's just, I don't know, your Yesodei doesn't have that? Fine. Some Yesodei apparently have that. Okay, good. Now, here's the thing. You're mechuyev to give your life. Are you allowed to go fight the Goyim? If there's a chance of winning is very small. Or not. What's the heter? So what was the heter of the Chashmei to fight the Yevanim? If a Greek comes to you and says, you have to do the Aveda, give up your life. What was the heter to go fight against the Greeks? It's the equivalent of Crown Heights Shemim declaring war on NATO. So the no offense to Gadi Hershkop, So the Farshim talk about this. This is the whole Chidush of the Mishra of Chanukah. Okay. Halacha hey. Now we get more about a situation where there's a duress based on, but the Yidden are being forced to give up other Yidden. So we talked already about the issue of killing another Yid b'yadayim, even though someone else says that, I'm going to kill you if you don't kill them. What if a guy says, give me him, this guy you're keeping in your basement, let me in to kill him, I'm going to kill you. Are you still mechuyev to give your life? Because you're not killing him, I'm just giving him off and he's going to kill him. So now I'm discussing like this. Hey. Nashim and women who go in to tell them. I'm going to talk about married women. Give us one of you and we're going to violate her. If not, I'm going to violate all of you. So now they're trying to do who we're going to give out. Each one says, not me. So they take the weakest person and throw her out because at least either way she's going to get violated. At least this was only her, right? That's you might think logically. So the Rambam says no. They have all obligation to all let them get all violated. They don't have a right to force to give over to one of them. Now, if one of them wants to sacrifice themselves, another question. I'm not discussing. I don't know what that is. But to say we're choosing you because we don't like you because anyway you're not the face you whatever. In the first, what if it's a person b'chalal who's not careful with these things? The Bechalal person who admitted something that she came from. So again, it's not so posh. But basically, the point is that you're not allowed to force her to go out to them and have an obligation to not do that, to sacrifice all themselves. Tell them to tell a group of Yidden. They're not going to give us one of them and we'll kill him. Why? Because whatever they think that there's one of you did it, we don't know who, so we kill one of you, and that's going to be the kapar. Yeah. If not, we kill all of you. They have to. And again, so nobody wants to go. And no one's willing to sacrifice themselves. They don't have a right to take one guy and say, you're the carb, we're going to throw you out to save the rest of us. You're not allowed to do that. They have to all let themselves be killed. They're not allowed to give themselves one of them over to Misa. Now, if one of them choose to, it's called a vazdayu, which is like a hint of shvichas dam. And it's also there's a ma'aseh in the Gemara with the two people who did this. They sacrificed themselves for the sake of the rest of the community. So if someone chooses to do this, it's very noble. You can't force them to pashtus. The Ram doesn't mention that, but that's okay. That's what it says. Now, if they say, they say, give us him. We want him. We don't want the rest of you, will leave alone. Now we kill all you. So then I have to give them over. Listen, they want you. So we're not throwing you out. They chose you. It's not like we're deciding who. It was decided already. So the Goyim said we're killing you, and maybe everyone else too if you don't come out yourself. So can we give him over? So if he was the mechuyev mis like Shev ben Bukhri, the ma'aseh over there was when there was Shev ben Bukhri, he cursed David HaMelech. He's very malchus, and he went to a certain city. And Yayev laid siege there, and he said, "Give him over. I'm killing all of you." Now, that was a yid, mind you, on yidden. So one smart woman, bound him, killed him, and threw his head over, and Yayev left the city alone. So Vice says that holds that if it's a goyish, army or Yiddish army, it's the same thing. But okay, upon him, So in that case where he's mechuyev misa anyway al pi Torah, Yidlo, in that case you can give him over to them. That's the din. That's the din. You're allowed to give him over because they singled him out. Now, some of the Pasuk say even if he's not mechuyev misa al pi Torah, but he's mechuyev misa because he did something the government says is chayev misa. So there's a certain validation to give him over. The Pasuk talk about it, and I guess it's a government where it's normal, like not a government where it says if you insult the king, you're chayev misa. Like a thing like there's a lot of fodder now. If a person, there's certain laws that are not whatever. There's I don't want to say on the camera. There's basically if it's a normal thing to have such a legal consequence for it. I'm not giving exact mashalom over here, but okay, that's discussed. But if he's mechuyev misa al pi Torah, for sure, let's say he's a Muslim. I don't know. Actually, no, Muslim for sure. It's not a good example. Let's say he's Mechal Shabbos. No, I don't know. Let's say he murdered somebody. Whatever it is, he's mechuyev misa like Shem Bruch was chayev misa because he was a murdered Malchus, right? So then you can give him over. Now the Chayim might think, 1 second. Logically, this makes sense. If anyways everyone's going to die, why not give him over? The Rebbe Sikh explains that the tzibur, every yid is an important nekuda, and we comprise a community of tzibur. But it's not pshat that the tzibur of the yidden can milvato the yachid. The yachid's a metzias. So you can't say to save the tzibur will nullify the yachid. The yachid, the koyach of the tzibur can't do that because the tzibbur's koyach is only from the fact that there are a bunch of yichidim. The whole uniqueness of a tzibur of the yidden is the fact that individuals are who they are. So to say that the tzibur is milvato like the yachid, 1,000 yidden are going to die. Therefore, give 1 yid to save 999. No, you can't do that. Okay, now this is interesting. This din, you come to Rav, we have a shayla. The guy is around the city, and the guy is saying, give us Chaim Yankel, otherwise we're going to have to kill everybody. So Rav can't pass it. Yeah, give him over. Even if it's mechuyev misa. You don't pass it. If they know they did by themselves, they learned, fine. But to be maida, you don't do that. How do we know that? Because there's a mice in the Gemara that Yeshua ben Levi did this to the goyim to save the community, and because of that, I don't know if he didn't come to him. When he finally came, and he said, "Where you been?" And the other said, "I should come to somebody who gives over yidden." He said, "What do you mean? The din is that you give over if he's a person, the goyim single him out, and he's chayev misa, as my case was. You're supposed to give him over, and I did that. I saved the whole community. What do you want for my life? I'm a tzaddik." So the Rebbe said, "That's not for Mishas Chassid. That's not for Chassid. That's for regular Jews. People like you should have a higher level, a higher standard." Interesting. So therefore, we learn that they don't pass in this way. It's not like a chachil pass in this way. Good. The im einechai. So now, fine. Good. Fine. Thank you, Mefarshim. Since when can you pass malacha from a navi, from a ruach hakodesh? Yonavi told you something as a nevuah. You can't pass it from that. So why does Rambam say vein money can lechachila from Yonavi? The part is that the psak din is the psak din. The fact that we're saying that for chassidim you don't pass in this way, that it's not mishach chassidim, that's also okay from nevuah from ruach hakodesh. Okay, because Rambam's going to tell us in Hilchos Nevuah later on that you're not allowed to pass from a nevuah, and this is the answer. By the way, this is the Rebbe's word in Rishimis. Ask this question: How does Rambam paskin based on Ruach HaKodesh? And he gives us teretz that this psak din that this is the halacha officially is that if they single him out by name, you can give him over. And the fact that we say that however for Mishnah's chassidim for people of a higher standard, that's not ideal, not appropriate. That you could learn from Ruach HaKodesh. That's the Rebbe's beer in Rishimis. He says over here, and in Rishimis kufman vav. If, however, the guy is single out is not chayiv misa, the goyim don't like him. Why not? Because he insulted them or something. He told them one of their wives are ugly. I don't know, whatever. Then you're not allowed to give him over, and they all have to be willing to dal Kidush Hashem. Now, when it comes to the concept of being forced, we say it's similar when it comes to being sick, right? Is a person allowed to heal himself and not die to do an aveda, or no? A person has to let himself die of the illness and not do the aveda. Case of example, a person who's sick and he's